This is a quick disclaimer before the podcast starts. Unfortunately, today's podcast is cut short by about 10 to 15 minutes, just because we had a slight issue when recording the audio. The 10 to 15 minutes that is missing from the podcast will be uploaded at a later date as its own video. We hope you enjoy the podcast as it is. Before we get into today's episode, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Open Doors, Open Mind YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and on our other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook and now TikTok. Links to all will be in the description below. But without further ado, let's watch the episode.
And we're back. No, Daniel.
Oh, that's sad. My best friend's gone.
Yeah, a lot quieter.
Whoa. Hang on. Are you trying to say that you prefer him over us two?
I feel like me and him have got more same personality. So yeah.
Oh, so we're boring.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But I am a girl, so I must be boring her.
A poriner?
Boring her. Is
Oh,
that even a word?
I'm sure someone's going to comment on that one.
Yep.
Hopefully, if someone's watching, would be helpful.
1,000 people.
We've got over 1,000 subscribers now.
Yep. And we're 20 of 4,000 on Instagram, so get following as well. Had a little look.
What he said.
What he said.
What he said.
Right, so we're obviously today I wanted to put obviously a subject out there, and obviously as I've got two different opinions and two different sexes, I'm not assuming your sex.
Did you just assume my sex?
Yeah, I did, and I've just realised as I said it, someone's going to comment. So what I want to do is talk about men's mental health. So obviously you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So do you think men's and women's mental health are the same? And this was to you.
Well, I'm not sexist, so yeah.
I don't think you have to be sexist to say
I'm
that.
really joking.
No, yeah.
No, in the sense.
Personally, I do, because we're all human, so don't we all have the same?
Do you think you experience the world the same?
No.
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 Okay, because obviously the reason is some of the people I'm helping now, some of the way I have to approach women to help them with
It's
certain
different.
things and certain with men, whereas some of the men are looking for, you've got this, mate, get the fuck up, get on with it. Wants that little bit of, they can reach out, you're a bit sympathetic, but mate, it's time to pull your socks up.
But-
Whereas you couldn't do
well-
that with a woman. Do you think you could?
Yeah. I think I wouldn't have got through what I've got through if it weren't for my certain people saying to me, no, enough is enough
But
now.
were they male or were they female that were saying it?
Both.
Oh, really?
My mum said, remember who brought you up?
Yeah.
I'm a strong puppy. And then my dad said, lift up your head, get it done.
That's
That's it, yeah.
that's kind of some of the situations that I've had in the last week.
Because I think
It
you
is
need a
hard.
bit of both. I think the only thing, I think it's just two different angles. So I think obviously looking at different a man and a female, obviously a man growing up, obviously they probably don't. If you've got a daughter and a son, I feel like you probably hug the daughter more than you do the son without even realising you're doing it.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say every household because
No.
that's not every household, but I do think the daughter sometimes gets more of the, oh, don't upset her, don't make her cry, when really it should be the same.
It should be balanced,
So
but
I think
obviously
when a man
naturally.
then grows up, then yeah, obviously their mental health, you probably have to deal with it different. I don't think it is like they're the same, but it's just different ways of dealing with it, I guess.
What do you reckon?
I think they're the same but different, 100%. I think there's a lot of similarities, but I also think there's big differences. I mean, for example, the biggest killer of men is suicide between the ages of 18 and I think 50, 45. So, and then more women self-harm, but more men take their own life. So that, again, is factually a big difference in mental health.
Men kind of, yeah.
Men and women's mental health. And I think as much as we say, look, it's okay to not be okay and you just speak out and you do this, I still feel that men they just can't. It's harder for them to speak out because maybe they were brought up to be, you know, a man and to get on with things like you said and pull your socks up. But at the same time, it's like when a man can't speak out and he's struggling to speak out about how he's coping, I do think that like only recently it's being labelled as being like having toxic masculinity. And I think instead of trying to understand why they can't speak out, and I think it's based on their upbringing and their childhood and how they've
Or is
raised.
it maybe who they're actually speaking to?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I met someone this week
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking and he actually mentioned that he spoke to his friends and actually said to he didn't say it fully, but he said like, I'm feeling a bit down, lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And he said all of his friends just couldn't understand it. None of them.
Okay, I
But
get
obviously
that.
from that point, obviously he's opened up a tiny bit and then his friends have gone.
Which is then
Don't-
shut him down.
So then it shut him down. And then he opened up to me. Like, I haven't seen him in God, like, years. And obviously he's opened up to me. And he was like, you're probably the first person I've opened up to in ages. Because I felt comfortable to.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of sometimes think it's not... Even when women are suffering with mental health, I could go to someone, talk to them about my mental health, and they could make it worse by making it bigger. Or I can talk to someone who I know will go, right, this is what you need to do for it. This is what... So I think it's sometimes who you're looking for and your energy that you've got
Like the
around
circle
you.
around,
yeah.
right?
Because I was also speaking to my friends about it. Like, when you're mentally ill, like struggling with your mental health, your friends are totally different then to what my friends are now. Because the friends that I had then loved that I was mentally ill because I fitted in their benefits. I
Yeah.
wanted to drink more. I wanted to go out more. I wanted to do this more. I wanted to be reckless. As in, when you're like got a grown mindset, you then have people that are a bit more... No,
You find a
can
different
admit
crowd
to
around
them
you,
and be
right?
like, right, I'm struggling. What can I do? And they'll help you in the correct way. So I think sometimes it's like, I do think there's no different. I do think it's who you've got around you, the energy you keep.
I agree
And
partially
who-
with that one. I do
But then-
agree it
I
does
do
help.
think men have it harder to open up, but I just think it's
Well, I
who
think
they
if
open up to.
you go back to the story, you said he spoke to his male friends and they were like, I don't get it, I don't get what you're on about. If that doesn't prove that, it's literally not different there. Like how men are like, don't get it. They literally can't talk to their friend. I don't know. There could be for so many reasons.
Do you think they can, but just if there's a crowd of them, it's harder?
It's a...
Because men never want to admit, like, be the first one to admit, do they, normally? If it's
To
something
me,
that's
I
kind
did a
of looks-
recording, and obviously Kai, which is sat over there, he put... Obviously, I wasn't willing to put my face into it, so we took the audio. It took me, 6 months to have the balls to post that? And the response I got, basically other men saying thank you, because they didn't have... In the world that I was in, the door world and bits and pieces of that, the males... Right, here's a question for you. If you're with a partner...
Mm-hmm.
and I need your honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If he cried
Yeah.
and had mental health problems, you would support him though, right?
Yeah.
But do you think deep down, even a little percentage of you would see him slightly different? He's not the strongest person that you remembered
No.
him to be.
I'll probably love him more.
Do you know how a man sees it?
What?
That they see that as a weakness and that you think that. Because we need to be the strong man that one can protect you, two can provide for you.
That's the old way of looking at it. We were actually talking kind
But
of a
do you-
little bit
do you
along
agree-
them lines before we come on. We were talking about how, you know, like women are brought up to men. Like, I was brought up by a dad that was half Polish and half Scottish, but was born in England. And he was so strong-minded in the sense, I've got a wallpaper. I've got I built up my wardrobes at home. And I was saying to, it's Jack and I keep forgetting now. I want to call you Rick. Why do I want to call you Rick?
No idea.
Right, Rick?
Yeah, right, Rick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've lost what I was saying.
Wallpaper.
Yeah, wallpaper. Yeah. So I was saying that obviously sometimes when girls get in a relationship with the men, prescribe. I can't talk today. My dyslexia's gone real bad. Maybe it's the coffee.
Might be.
Too much. Yeah, our view changes in a relationship. Like, there's some women out there that will have a boyfriend, and like I was saying, like, you know, the IKEA delivery will come, and instead of opening and starting it, they'll wait for their man to come home.
Yep.
As in, men kind of like women to be the same as them, so it's not all the pressure on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Obviously that's just like in look, but I just think if girls were like brought up the same way as men and men the same way as girls, I think you'd see a big difference on mental health.
What, in mental health?
Yeah.
Possibly. But do you think society will ever change in that sense for men's mental health? Because even in the building world, if you look at majority of
The only way it's going to change is if men start taking care of each other. I think that's when it will change.
I think more
Just
has to- I
because
think more has to be
females
done.
do take care of each other, it's just depending on what female you talk to, whether they're going to be twisted and go elsewhere with your information. But I feel like it is.
So do you, as from a guy to a guy, obviously we openly talk about mental health
Yeah,
because
yeah.
obviously this is what we do. But do you think there's most men? It obviously at this stage now, most people will come to me if they want some advice on mental health because obviously they can see that I've been through it, I've done that. Where do guys go? There is nowhere. Genuinely,
I don't. Yeah, and
I
I
had
think this
nowhere to
system
go
as
to.
well doesn't help you guys either. Like me as a single mum, I can ring up and get help. I would say quicker because I've got children that are younger than me. But then again, I waited a whole year for my help as well, which didn't help. So I don't know. I think there's not. But then that's me as a female. But obviously as a man, I don't. Especially if you work, I don't think there is much help
I do.
at all.
Brutally believe that because
Which
there's
is sad
nothing.
because it's like really the world wants us all to be equal and not see this and not see that. It's like, well, then put it all fair then.
And I feel like sometimes the system is built for women in the sense of because women talk the most and they're out there, it's easier to deal with, and I'm not saying this in this, it's easier because everything's formed around a woman. The people that, if you go into social services right now, how many males are in social services? It's all females. There's very rarely a male in there. If you go into the schools, it's very rare that you'll find them. Most of the men on a building site, how many women compared to men on a building site? And that's the bit, obviously, in the building industry, that's probably one of the biggest industries for suicide. It's quite high, and I think they can go to work and they talk about, oh yeah, I conquered this girl, I went out drinking. But when it's the real matter,
But then
sort
that's
of, men
another
don't
thing,
talk.
Faye. Like men boast certain things that I look at and I think, surely you should be asking your friend if you're okay. Like if I had a friend that was sleeping around all the time, I'd be like, are you okay, love? But men see that as a boast, and it's like, well, no, he's obviously seeking some kind of attention somewhere, so he's going to grow up with. And it's either the issue is that he never got any emotion growing up, so his only way of getting some kind of touch and feeling is by sleeping with women and getting that connection.
And that's men's most. That is men's
But
love
this
language.
is what I
isn't
mean
it?
by men need to start realising their own acts to then work together on it, not be so like, oh, that's a boast, that's this. It's like, no, like if you're doing something that doesn't sound 100% correct or right for, you know, if you're going around sleeping with a whole load of females, you're obviously saying stuff to these females, which then affects their mental health, which obviously down the line affects your mental health. Are you okay? What are you doing? You're not treating people right.
I don't think it's just you put the blame on men to say, well, men need to sort it out to help their mental health.
I'm not saying put the
Yeah, I know, but like I don't think it's just men. I think, like I said earlier, like, you know, the phrase toxic masculinity has all of a sudden become very popular for just normal things for men to do. And I feel like the society at the moment is like, men have to be masculine, blah, 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 but when you're too masculine, it's toxic. But then men should be feminine, but when men
They're
are too
too
feminine,
feminine.
it's, well, you need to be more masculine. So I think whoever's running
But then
these
isn't that-
pages, whoever are on these podcasts and whoever are saying this information, regardless of their sex, I said they just need to be a bit more accurate at what they're saying. It's so vague at the moment of what to be. Just, I don't know why you should keep telling people how to be. Just be honest with yourself constantly, and talk to your friends, or if you don't have any friends to talk to, just be honest with yourself. Just be absolutely honest with yourself, rather than watching all these, you know, influencers and famous people and all these really controversial people telling you what to be. Switch it off. Be absolutely honest with yourself, and you're halfway there. It's as simple as that.
That's
for
not
me
a bad way of looking
personally.
at it.
Because there's so much. What is the effect of too much information? You're a rabbit in the headlights. You don't know what to do, so you put your head in the sand. There's so much information now, and again, like it goes back into the gym, for example. There's so many different diets, so many different tips and tricks to get in shape. Work your ass off and eat well. It's that simple. And I also do feel sometimes your mental health can be helped that simple as well. I really do. But it's it's being honest with yourself, laying everything down, and
it's
then
taking
start
accountability,
cracking
isn't
down.
it, really?
Yeah, I think
own
as humans we just like to
direction.
overcomplicate things because we like to be different.
Or we
Whereas
like reasons to stay the same.
And everybody
either one
wants
or
a
the
shortcut.
other.
That's the one thing I've worked with. Some of the people they want me to, a bit like the Matrix, that magic pill, give them or tell them to do this and it will sort it all out. And it's not about, I wish I could. Some of the people that I'm helping, that I could go, look, you know, just take that and your life will be completely fine. There won't be any money worries. Because there's, like, as we were just talking before this, there's for men in grief and bits and pieces, there's nothing out there. For a guy, like when my nan died, like me, my uncles, blah blah. It was like my uncle cried like a little bit, but you know, at the ceremony, I think it's okay. But obviously, to go into it, obviously, him and his wife, Auntie Deborah, he would have had a cry with her. Would never have done it in front of his nephews like me, and it's a weird world for men, honestly.
I also think men don't really say what they need. Women are very good at showing what they need, even if they don't say what they need. They'll say, like, you've probably both have experienced it, all women, when you come home and say, she's just had a hard day and she wants a cuddle. She might not address the cuddle, but she'll give inklings, or you'll just tell by her attitude she needs something. As in men, they're very shut down, so it's kind of like sometimes it's really hard. So what advice would you both give if, say, there's someone at home that's dealing with a man that is kind of struggling with their mental health? What would you say?
Give them space.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the words, because obviously I've worked out with women, everything okay? And they go, okay, that means it's not. If they say they're fine, it means they're complete arse. Women are very good in giving body language off to say that they're upset. Men, I would say, for what I would have liked, I'm not saying this for all men, is sometimes when you come in and you're had a bad day and your mental health's a bit bad, just knowing somebody's in your corner. You don't need to have that conversation. Just knowing that someone understands and just even comes down and goes,
Done.
Just walks off. Coffee.
That simple.
That can be that simple for a man, right?
Yeah.
Just to know that your woman's in your corner. You don't need to have a sit down and have a full conversation and break it down and analyse it.
What if the man's wanting to talk?
Men will, if
Because
they know they're in your corner.
I do feel like in a lot of homes, there's a lot of men that will turn around to their woman, like probably now, maybe like things are rocky in their relationship, and the woman will just talk over the man, and then he'll be saying, I am struggling, I am struggling, I am struggling. And she'll just be, I need an answer to this, this and this.
Yeah.
What would you say to that woman right now? Like what that man needs? Obviously they clearly both need time, but.
I would say stop, take a deep breath, work out, put yourself in his shoes. Yes, okay, and I get most women are at home, you know, when they've got the families and bits and pieces and they've got the kids and some are working. In a man's world, like specifically yesterday, I got up, sorted the kids out, sent them to school, went off, did my bits and pieces. It went a bit horribly wrong yesterday and helping other people. Come in, sometimes I just need my own 30 seconds to not have to come in and deal with all the crap. And I'm not saying it's easy, just give me a break. And that whole, I would just say, take a deep breath. Basically, show the man that you're in the corner. When he is ready,
Be kind.
to be open up and say, because if you try and force something out of a man, just listen, piss off. You're obviously not getting it. You wasn't there. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Just understanding that men's love talk sometimes isn't holding hands and having a cuddle.
I don't think it is.
But most women do think it's, you're not romantic enough. You're not this. You're not that. And it's like, oh my God, what do you want this time? Oh, the kids have been
Men
playing.
are more like, if they will do it, if they wanted to, they would.
Yeah.
So if they're not, if normally their action is, you know, they're doing something all the time and then one day they stop, normally there's a reason for it, but you just got to let that man take his
Ride
minute
it through. Yeah.
and then come to you.
'Cause
He's ready
sometimes,
to
like-
say, right, this is why I needed that moment.
And I do think couples, and I think obviously it's proven, obviously statistics are out there, most men that are like divorces now, it's because men don't talk.
Yeah.
Men don't say what they truly want because they feel judged all the time. Just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean I could be snappy, I could be arsey. It doesn't mean I love you any less. It doesn't mean I don't care for you any less.
Yeah.
It just means I've had a shit day
I watched
and
this
you're the point of call.
podcast the other day, and it was a lady. She's saying she was married like 20 years plus, and they asked like, how is it 50-50? And she said no. She said what me and my partner do is when we come through the door, we'll say, what percentage of energy do you have in this right now? And then she'll go like,
Do you know what?
she'll go like, I've got 50, he's got 50, or if he says I've got 20 and she's got like 10, they literally just say, right, look, we'll take care of our own and then we'll come back together. So it's like telling each other like, right, you've just come through the door, I've literally got 20 energy to give you. What can you give to me right now? And if you can pick up that whole 80, then that's good. If you can't, then we need to figure out how.
Correct. I like that. I like that.
I was like, that is so good, because then you're not actually saying what is wrong there in the moment. So you're not in each other's. You're just saying like, look, I've literally got this amount of energy to give you right now.
Today's
Give me
not
a
gone
minute.
according to plan.
Yeah.
You know, I'm up, I'm down.
or I need you to hold this because I can't do it today because I'm just
Yeah.
lost.
I like that. I like that analysis. That's what I would say that obviously for a woman right now to actually use that analogy,
Would be quite good.
that would be quite good.
But would men, like, I feel like if I said to my man right now, would you say a number? He'd probably be like, oh, what are you on about? But I kind of need that because I'm the one that I would say.
I think you could create your own version of that.
That, yeah.
If you understand what I mean, like
Safe word or something like that.
just
you know what I mean?
even
Like,
just be even like if you've been in a relationship long enough, you can just sometimes look at the other one and just go, fuck. Do you know what I mean? Just not go, oh, right. If I step through the door, I've had a shit day, or like especially when I was working on the door, I could have been in like fights throughout the night. I've pissed people. It's Christmas time, and they're to go, oh, I'm like, really, yeah. Well, you shouldn't bring work home with you. Oh, easy.
How hard do you think it is for the other partner to deal with someone that's struggling really mentally? Because
Bad.
everyone looks at the person that's struggling mentally, but they don't actually look at the partner that's having to deal with that energy and environment. And
perfect example. For 20 years, I was together with 19, as everyone keeps pointing out. I was a specific kind of way where I was the man in the house, and I'd go out to work and I'd do all these different bits and pieces, and it was like, I want to watch TV, it's my TV. And the one time I showed, something changed, because obviously and this is where I advise other people, you don't need to just start crying all the time and bits and pieces, but show your sensitive time, because obviously it doesn't come such as a shock when you are and you do break, because men do break, they just do it behind closed doors and don't let the partner see it. It's not such a shock to the relationship with this guy that you've built up that can handle anything, take anything on, take the world on, is broken. And that's what I feel. You might have a different opinion, but I feel the moment I showed what I call, and it's not a weakness, but I call it in my little world, a weakness, and that I wasn't coping, the dynamic of the relationship broke. It completely broke, because I'd never been, and like she'll tell you, she's never seen me cry until that very moment in 19 years.
Don't you think that might have been the issue? Was the fact she never ever saw you cry?
And
so it was
that's
like she actually probably needed that at the get-go. Like, I feel like all men should just show their emotion, and if they get told that they can't show their emotion in the relationship that they're in, then they're in the wrong relationship. Simple as that.
Basically, we built up a whole different way. Like, we had men's jobs, women's jobs. That's what she would say, right? That's a man's job, and I'm like, that's kind of how we created, and then we stopped communicating, and it's because I didn't realise. Well, I did. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't say something was wrong. I still had to try and go work, get money to pay the bills, right? I still had to. I wasn't willing to admit it to myself, because I assumed that the world was going to judge me, and that you couldn't do the job. If you, mental health to me back in the day, I was like, you fucking crazy. You think of Broadmoor. Yeah. When you say someone's got a mental health problem, you're like, oh, fuck
mental health
me.
issue or
Is this person stable?
I think that's where the problem is, because I think a lot of people have grown up children now that are now we're like grown adults in that we had a lot of families that have never dealt with their issues, like healing and stuff, because healing's a big thing. I don't think people actually talk much. We talk about mental health for when we're actually broken, but we don't talk enough about the healing stage of how blimmin' hard it is to actually get yourself out of that dark hole every day until you can actually walk down that road with your head a little bit high. Like, no one talks about it. They all just assume that it's like, because I've had it so many times where people will be like, oh, it'll pass, or why are you stressing about it? Why are you worried? Just get on with it, which I guess men get that a lot.
Yeah.
But even I had that a lot, because it's like at some point people around you kind of get fed up with your mental health, so they don't see it as mental health, they just see it as you being miserable.
Yeah, so right.
So I think people need to start talking a bit more about actually how hard it is to heal, and how like healing is a scary big journey, but once you get to that point of a little bit of healing, you then find your purpose, and then you find your go-to, and then you know how your mind is set and what you need and what your wants are, and then you're able to like verbalize it a lot more to people without having to kind of cry all the time. Or
okay, here's a question for you then. We've gone down that path. You said, if you were at schools, they do PE, right?
Yeah.
Obviously for the physical side of your body and bits and pieces. Do you think the schools, without calling it mental health lessons, should have some sort of, because as a species, do we wait for everything to be at a crisis
before
and
we do
broken
something?
before we do? Why right now?
I was
obviously,
speaking
you do
to
gym.
about the teenagers about this at youth club, so yeah.
So in the sense of, like, I go to the gym. Why are we not doing that kind of stuff on a daily? You don't go and go, well, I'm now broken. But if you were doing things throughout your whole life which taught you about mental health, how to deal with the
I
positives and
actually
the
think
negatives.
schools have a big part to play in so much. I feel like schools need to have a really look at how they're teaching kids now. Like, they're still teaching them like they're all going to leave and work in a factory. That
And
day needs
even
to
the
come out.
regimented seats wise,
And
it's not like that no
I
more.
think as well, because I was talking to the teenagers at the youth club actually this Friday that's just gone, and I was saying to them, like, I was just curious. I was like, what's sex education like at school? Like, do they still just teach you protection and that's it? And she was like, they were like, yeah. And I was like, so they don't teach you anything about actual relationships or like anything to do with like sexual abuse or anything for men and women? They just literally teach like, oh yeah.
When somebody says no, it's no.
Like, kind of put a condom on and you're safe. And it's like, well, no, like, maybe if schools actually took it upon themselves to speak about certain sexual abuse, you might find that there's a lot of kids that are in your school that are probably getting stuff happening to them, but they don't realise it's wrong until they become an adult, which actually, if they got sorted, like, not sorted out, because obviously it's a big effect, but if they actually got seen at that point, they might have spoke out, men and, like, boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might find that when that person grows as a grown adult, it won't be so much of a burden on them because they've spoke out about when they were young, when it was actually happening.
But you know, like, you get, is it philosophy it's called, in the sense of, I think if we did as a society, don't even call it mental health, in the sense of teach you, give you the skills at a
It should just
younger
be like
age.
life guidance.
What
Life
schools
guidance.
are
Life guidance
All
degree.
schools, life guidance. Let's go.
what schools are massively missing out on as well. I mean,
Like mortgages
what
and
really annoyed me at my school, I had a lovely school, right? I got my GCSEs, I got my qualifications, but what really annoyed me at my school, or in most schools now, is that no teacher, there's no subject, there's no person speaking at school saying, what do you want to do with your life? What career path do you want to go down? What's your dream job? What's the most ambitious thing you can think of? What do you want to target? What do you want to aim for? It's, well, if you don't get your GCSEs, you can do this exam at college, which gives you the, equivalent. No, do your GCSEs. If you fail them, do them again. If you fail them, do them again. Straight away, before we've already encouraged them to do plan A, we're already putting out plan B. Oh, well, it doesn't matter because if I fail this, I've just got that. No, if you fail, do it, because straight away you're putting into kids' minds that if you really want that, don't just give up at the first hurdle, go straight at it again. And that's what my school had. It was like, guys, if you don't get your GCSEs, it's not the end of the world, which technically it's not, because as you grow older, you realise that GCSEs don't really mean anything, right? But straight away, we're putting into kids' heads that there's already
a backup plan.
a backup plan
Yeah.
for something that you haven't really tried at yet. So
Yep.
what are you putting in their minds at the age of like 14? And for me, my school was very much like, get your GCSEs and then you can start doing your A-levels. It's like, well, why aren't we teaching kids to just go out and get what you want in life? If you want to be, in the Olympics in 5-6 years,
No.
why is there anyone that go, mate, do it? Come on, this is the steps. There's no sort of like there's no confidence coaching. There's no like, what do you want to do in your life? And this is how we're going to do it.
If when I was at
But
school,
I
they
think
taught
that's
me
really
to even how
hard.
to balance the checkbook at school. They did wood, they did cars. But the bit that I found was a bit sexist. It was only boys that could do the woodwork, and it was only boys that could do the
I
thing.
got high.
So,
like,
but
But there's no like, there's just like, it's very vague, it's very
I
vanilla.
think it's very hard for teachers on that side of things because.
do you
there's
not
a
think the
lot-
government's the problem with that one?
I just think there needs to be a bit more talking about lifestyle now because that's where people find it hard. Like, I mean, even like mortgages, I probably didn't even know what a mortgage was until I was in my 20s. In all honesty, I thought everyone was just given a house. That's how blind society I was. I just thought you were just lucky with the pick. But it's kind of like if you actually get taught certain things at school, it might actually help kids for what they do want in life. Because, I mean, like you said, half the stuff they learn, they probably don't even take into their career. But I also think it's quite hard because when I was at school, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do because I was very behind at school. Like, they didn't know I was dyslexic until year 7, and I couldn't even write the word the. I'd write DA as duh. I wrote how things were said.
Yeah, same as
So for me, if a teacher said to me, what do you want to do? I would probably have found that more pressure. So I think it's about teachers actually having people skills. So a people skill lesson to actually understand everyone, because every child learns different. He might be good. He might need to eat chewing gum to actually listen to the teacher. Do you know what I mean? Or he might have to play with his zip on his coat. Like, it's just sometimes like teachers need to listen to the room, know the child, have a relationship, like you said, or like even have like a safe corner at school where you've got a few like play workers that are just in a corner or in a quiet room. So if it's lunchtime, they can come in and say, right, I want to do this. How do I get there? And then they can then talk to the teacher and say, right, I don't know, Charlotte came to me and she wants to actually do mechanics when she's older, but obviously we don't really teach anything in school about really mechanics. What would be her best way around it to get to that point? And then they can go back to Charlotte, right, we've spoke to school, you're doing really good in this and this, but if you do this good, you can then go and do that. Like,
Yeah.
so I think it's more like schools actually working more outside the circle
I think the schools
to
have got a
actually
lot
see.
of programming for
But it
an
must
adult.
be hard because they don't have the funding probably or the actual tools to actually do half of this.
No, half the tools are
is
missing. The
sad.
teachers are literally either striking or trying to get a better pay rise. I just feel for men's mental health, it starts very young for a guy. The way you're brought up.
I started at 12, man. My dad died when I was 12. I became the man of the house at 12 years old. Still am the man of the house.
See that word, right? It's drummed, and I don't think anyone... Kai, can I just ask, if your dad passed away right now, who would be the man of the house? Every guy, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a bit...
It's a male thing. I don't know what it
do you
is.
think the mum puts that pressure as well as the... Obviously the dad leaves, but do you think, obviously in a household, say a mum's got 3 kids, do you think that even... Because then obviously I've got friends that are girls and they've had to be the second mum. So do you think... Sorry, can you not hear me?
That's better.
Just say. Do you think like sometimes, or the main parent, do you think it's their kind of job to kind of not label as such, like you're now the man of the house because daddy's not here, or you're now the woman of the house because mummy's not here, or mummy's ill so you've got to take this role? Or
I think it comes back to nature.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
originally we are the male is the protector in most species.
But that's another thing though, we're not meant to be alone, but everyone's so scared to say I'm lonely.
But you can actually die of loneliness.
Yeah,
You know, I didn't realise
that's the main killer of...
But I was at my dad's funeral. A few people come up to me and say, "Oh, man of the house now, mate."
No, that's deep.
It's like,
It's kind of you're the protector, you're the provider,
Yeah.
you're the...
It's like,
and
what?
that's how men are actually brought up. Even in my world now...
But saying that, I probably agree, because when obviously I didn't have my dad bring me up, he disappeared when I was like 6.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I had my stepdad, I always still looked at my brother. Like if I ever had a boyfriend,
But that was natural,
it
right?
would be my brother. I'd be more scared of the meeting. And to be fair, bless Stephen, he used to always say to me, like as I got older, he's like, "Why were you always so scared to bring your boyfriends to me? Like, what do you think I'm
But
gonna
do you
say?"
not think that's
I was
naturally
like,
in you?
Yeah, that was because I just saw
Same
him as
ground.
like, I mean, if I ever got in trouble, it would go to my brother. I wouldn't go to my dad first, because obviously my brother is, to me, my hero, whether he believes it or not. But he is the one that I look up to because it's 2 years older. He has experienced the same things as I have. The only thing bad with, I would say, him is I don't feel like he talks to me enough to say like what he's going
Because
through.
you're the one who relies on him.
But I
he
don't even don't rely on him anymore. I haven't relied on him.
No,
for
but in the
2 years.
sense of, if right now, right, okay,
I just wish it like. But
I
then
was
I'm trying
banging
to
on
do
your
this thing.
door.
Yeah.
I was banging on your door,
Yeah.
right, I'm coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the first person you'd call? And be honest, who's the first person you'd call? Would it be your mum or your brother?
My brother, if it was out of them two.
That's what I'm trying to say to you, in the sense of your mum would still give it a go. I know your
Mum
mum.
would probably go out there first, to be fair.
But in the sense of the first thing you thought of naturally
Would be my, yeah. it'd
is
be
your brother,
a
'cause
man, I
a man.
guess, yeah.
to sort out a man. You
The
need
man
a
that I think's man enough to
a
sort
man
out
enough,
that.
right? Because
Which, yeah.
But what does
Yeah.
man enough mean?
So yeah, I've probably been guilty of that too, to be fair.
What
But
does
it's-
what does man enough mean?
I'm not saying
to
it's
you?
wrong. It's just
I think it depends on, like, to me, if someone says man enough, I'm going to think of either my older brother, Stephen, or, well, I say my older, I've got Darren as well, but Stephen or my stepdad Martin, to be fair.
okay, Stephen.
Because I just see them as, obviously, growing up, they're the ones that have kind of taught me most of my lessons. They've taught me about men. They've taught me about how to build that. So if I'm reliant, I'd rely on them, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying as natural.
But I think it's a
people-
bad thing that I've...
But could you
Like
put a cupboard
Stephen
up?
might actually feel like he needs me, but because I'm a woman, I feel like there's been times that I've rang him and I'm like, you're all right. And he's like, yeah, and he won't say. But sometimes I'm like, I need to be a bit more like, just because I'm the younger sister does not mean.
You can't help.
Yeah.
But
Like, I'm
could
here.
you put
like,
a
stop
wardrobe
going
together?
to mum's, come to me. Come for a coffee at mine.
Could you put a wardrobe together?
Yeah. Not to by myself, depending on how big the wardrobe is.
But
If it's
if
like
you,
that size, then yeah.
yeah,
If it's the one that I've got in my room, then hell no. I think 3 people, 4 people might have to do that.
okay. But question for you: who put it together?
I did the instructions.
Yep.
And my brother. And
Have
so
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's
I would have never been able to carry that upstairs.
and that's what I'm trying to say to you. Men inadvertently do it to themselves
Yeah.
in
I
some
think-
sort of a way, because like if you were like, if my little brother compared to my big brother having the same problem, well, hang on, you're my big brother, and that's in a male's world.
Yeah.
You're my big brother. You're supposed to, even an adult. I've got my own kids. My oldest brother, I'm supposed to look up to him. Like, hang on.
It's confusing though, because I feel like we constantly hear, oh, you know, women can do what a man can do, right? Which, yeah, you know, but then if a man watches a woman struggle, oh, why can't you do that? Well, you should be doing it, but what? So it's such a confusing time. You're damned
If you
do,
sat on the
damned if
sofa
you
watching
don't.
TV and said, right,
It's
go
the
build
same
the
as,
wardrobe.
like-
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
and like I said, going back to, you know, comparing women's mental health and men's mental health, right? Like I said, same but different. You've got, obviously, bless her, Caroline Flack went through absolute hell and took her own life. And you know, and on the back of that, it was those T-shirts came out. Was it Be Kind or Be?
Be kind, yeah.
Yeah, be
Kind.
kind, yeah.
Which, you know,
yeah.
good, you know, because what she went through was horrible.
But men.
So that, but then again, like we touched on before the podcast came out, Will Smith was told on national TV how his wife cheated on him. He started crying, right? He went
And
through
everyone-
shot, and then that
was
was made
loads of
into a
men
meme,
funerals,
and that was
yeah.
shared, and it's still being shared, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, like this is why men don't speak out. This is why men don't want to cry, because there's not. I'm not like, if I cry, I'm not going to turn into a meme. But this is why men are so worried about speaking out, is because you get stuff like that.
But do you think it was women that made them memes or men?
Men.
But yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
mean,
Men.
like men need to really start
To
supporting
try
men.
and show, do you know why they...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ego bullshit that comes with a man.
But also, you
have
could
to
say
be
women
top
women
bollocks.
could be sharing that meme and sending it in a, you know. So it's like we're all guilty,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
from society, it's like, well, what? Why are we saying, "Oh, be kind to someone going through crap," and then you see a grown man crying on TV who's going through a lot of stuff as well, and it's a meme.
Right. With that, right, perfect example, Ukraine,
Yeah,
right? There's a war going on, right? Who was forced to stay? Not women and children. Men.
but and as well, you know, a lot of, obviously, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but a lot of women say, "My body, my choice." Why isn't that there for men when it's fighting in conflict where you can get completely blown up? Why isn't there my body, my choice when it comes to men, but for women,
You get a choice.
you get a choice, you get a say, and I think you should, you know, 100%. But why isn't it there? Why aren't women saying, well, it's their body, their choice? You have someone, well, it's your duty. You're a man. Well, hang on a minute. Whoa.
But feminism goes all out the window when there's a war. 100%. Right now, if the
Probably goes out the
UK...
window with a lot of things, to be honest.
And that's what I'm trying... Even like, as look at the Titanic, for God's sake. Women and children first.
It is really hard though, because obviously you still don't want the aspect of a man. Like, I love it when a man opens a door for me. I love it when a man's being really gentleman. But
We're
for
living
them
in a
to
world
be
where
a
that's called
gentleman-
toxic now. It's
I
crazy.
don't think. Well,
No, we are. We're living in a world where
Honestly,
people call that
but I agree
toxic.
with you.
I
That
think
should
that
be.
needs to be happening more. If a man holds a door open to you, be bloody thankful, because these
nice,
days
yeah.
there's not many men that do it. So make sure. Well, I went out a few weekends ago, and my friend was speaking to these boys, and I mean, all of them were lovely. That I had to tell them, I was like, oh, it probably means absolutely nothing to you, but you all been gentlemen. You haven't done anything that's made us feel uncomfortable or nothing, and it's been really nice just to have boys that are just normal.
Whereas
To
you get the
us.
yeah.
It's just been genuine. Like, we could have chit chat with them and it not be expected, oh, she's being nice, I want to do that. It's like we're just having a good laugh, and they made sure we got in a taxi home safe. They made sure like we were all good the whole night, and I was just like, it was so nice, and me and my friend enjoyed our night even better because we knew there was actual gentlemen behind us, not men stood there trying to be cool and da-da-da. And to be fair, one of the boys even that night cried because he was just having a hard time and we supported him. So it was really like a weird night.
But would you have dated him?
Yeah, he was good looking.
Do
I actually would have.
Here's
I
a
love
question
a
for the next time we
man.
all come together.
My brother, he's the most sensitive person going, like my little brother, and he's my favourite.
Right. I need an honest answer. When you go to
Yeah.
speak to the other girls
When
that
he's
were there
drunk,
that
he's
night,
yeah.
right? How many of them, before he cried, they thought, you know, decent guy, blah, blah, blah. The moment he cried, something slightly changed.
I don't think it did. I think that's a part of growing up, though.
You reckon?
I think if you ask girls that were younger than me, 100%, they would have been like her. Why is he crying?
So it comes to different things at
I
different
think
ages, right?
as because when I was struggling with my mental health, I literally, my eyes opened to so much. For instance, drug addicts.
Mm-hmm.
I used to look at them and think, why aren't you fixing up? Why are you sleeping? That's like, you could do something. But now I look at them and think, do you know what? I don't even blame them because the system's absolutely crap. And that's for any addict that's a female or male. It's so hard to get out and actually just admit that you need help. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I just look at them in a total different aspect. Not saying that what they're doing I like agree on, but I look at them and think, you don't know what they've gone through. Like, was she constantly asking for the help at the right time, but she was ignored, or he was ignored? And then it just spiraled out to like, and then it got to the point is, okay, do you know what? This is my only fix.
And it's to escape. Sometimes it's to escape. And if
Do you know
I
what I mean?
think-
So my view changed a lot on like everyone. Like, we all, in my head, are just humans. As long as you're, what I say, Fo, is I don't think, I like hanging around with people now that want to get out of their situation because I feel like I've made my way out. So I feel like it's really inspiring and really good when I speak to people and around people that are kind of doing the same. They notice that they struggle with that in their childhood. They notice that's a problem and they want to get out of it. I just think it's really hard for people to come out of it at that stage.
Yeah.
So I think what we're doing here is good because the people that are at home that do want to get out of it but have got nowhere to go.
We can be
This
the
is
voice.
a main.
Yeah. And that's what I think we've all got.
And then they'll
including
probably,
Daniel, got
as
different
you
opinions.
do start coming out of it, you actually realise, right, like, I think probably even all us four in this room right now have probably had an experience that have affected us that we can all talk about it now, and none of us feel like
Because
one
you're
of us
comfortable
are on,
with
yeah,
each other and we know that
it's
the
not
other
tension
one's been through
seeking.
something.
It's not. We can literally talk about it, and there's no two ways about it. It's just like, okay, I've got you. Let's talk about it.
But do
like,
you
what
feel
we're gonna
like
do.
if you hadn't been through what you'd been through or seen and worked in these places, do you think you would have a different opinion on life?
I do, yeah. I mean, so when my dad passed away when I was 12, obviously I grew up and I lived with my mum and sister. So therefore, I never was like, if I get back from school or there's something, I go, oh, Dad, you know, this happened, blah, blah, 100% I'll go straight to him because I want that common ground. I want that a male's opinion because for me, we'll connect naturally closer than I would with my mum, who's a female, who looks at life differently.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that. So even to this day, you know, 15 years on, I just get on with it because I don't want to tell my sister. I don't tell my mum because I know, and without sounding horrible, is that they're not going to see it from my point of view at all. They say, oh, I understand. No, you don't because you're not a 27-year-old lad. My dad was. So he would have been able to give me
Who's
some
been
solid
there,
advice.
done similar
It's a bit
things.
like
So
they
for
probably
me,
speak to each
I
other.
don't. It sounds really bad, and I'm trying to change. But for me, and I don't want to come across sexist at all because this is what I've grown up with. I don't talk to a female about anything, about my feelings, because they just try and sit there and say I understand. And for me, it's like, well, you don't. You're not growing up in this world without a dad as a male. So therefore, you cannot tell me how you feel. There might be similarities, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when it comes to like talking about mental health and how you feel, I just shut down when a woman goes, "Oh, how you feel?" I'll go and talk to a mate. I'd rather talk to a geezer down the pub who I've just met than women and females I've known for years.
Yep.
And that's just who I am. And that's how
I
I've been
think
growing up.
I think I speak for most men feel exactly the same as that.
I feel like there's probably a load of boys out there and
Oh.
grown men now that probably really struggle with
My own boys
not
are
having
like
their
that.
dad around, to be honest.
Like if my son, like, obviously being the way the thing I think I've done for the next generation in the males in my side of the family is that they can talk to each other. So like my brother will speak at least probably once, twice a week. You're right. we got to that stage where if I'm having shit, sometimes it's just sounding off. Just saying, oh yeah, I fucking done it. This has happened, that, blah, blah. Don't want you to solve it.
Yeah.
It's just me voicing, getting the tension off of me.
But I feel like men are really bad at that, though. At trying to fix things all
I
the
was.
time.
And now my son, like...
Rather than just listening. And I think they do it to each other.
So
all the
Junior,
time.
sometimes all he needs for is like, Dad. And he actually come up to me and said, Dad, can we have a conversation? Like, yeah. So I've gone outside having a fag. I was like, oh, Dad, just my mental health. And I was like, I know I've achieved something.
Yeah.
If a 14-year-old lad's coming to me, and I know it should be to, but obviously guys speaking to guys is a massive thing.
Different.
To him to know that he can come and talk to me.
Yeah.
And me not judge him.
Yeah.
And give him a little bit of advice. That listen, it's probably also you're not eating enough, you're not exercising enough, you're not doing enough gym, you're around your mates that are a bit toxic. Take a break, do something different, change something, have a look. Sorry, and he couldn't tell you which one. He just changed a lot of different things around him.
For me as well, it's like
down.
it's like when obviously we're all human. Like I'll have arguments with my sister, arguments with my mum. As soon as I raise my voice a tiny bit because I am frustrated and I'm really upset, I sometimes. Why are you being aggressive? Well, hang on a minute. Why is me upset? And you can quite clearly physically tell that I'm really pissed off about something. Why am I labelled aggressive when, say, a week later or whatever, you two are having an argument as females and you're both shouting? You're not aggressive though. You're just emotional. You're upset. Correct. But when I'm upset, it's you're aggressive. You're flying off the handle.
And do you know what I think that is?
So that's why I don't talk to him, because it's just like I'm not constantly being told I'm aggressive.
But if me and you are having an argument about something that you're upset about and blah, blah, women, and I think I'm right in it, women would see that as we're about to have a fight. We could have a heated conversation and we might not even have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that scene is aggressive to each other.
Yeah.
But if two women are having an argument like that, one of them's upset, one of them's this.
I agree with everything you're saying.
Because... like, if I had to go at my sister, I treat her like I treat my brothers.
Yeah.
But I think it depends what household you were brought up in, to be honest. Because I think
So
as women, the only time us women have probably seen a man raise our voice is probably our dads when they're angry or the man of the house when they're angry at something, and we probably get some kind of punishment after it. So when our boyfriend or... just the debates going on, we probably just, it's not that we might actually look at you and think you're aggressive. It's probably in our head we think, oh, he's aggressive because we don't actually know. It's either we're scared because we've had bad experience of something. Like I've had certain things happen that I'm like, oh God, I need to get out of here because I don't even know what you're going to do next because I haven't seen the correct way of a man.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think women don't actually know how to deal with a man that is, because we don't see much of their
emotions. And then when they snap, and it's quite...
Because our way of emotion is crying and being like...
Where mine could be like, fuck you, fuck off.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you sort of just silent and then it's a...
It's from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Yeah, I agree
our
with that.
women, I think, this is why I feel like a lot more men need to start being show, as much as it might be hard for like even you to speak to your girlfriend about how it felt maybe being a man of today. I think she might need to hear it to understand why you maybe... Obviously, what she might say might frustrate you, but at the same time, that needs to be an open conversation. So then it's there, so she then knows how to deal with it as your partner. Because otherwise, it ends up being, oh, he would. She'll then thinking, oh, am I not kind of good enough to be? Not saying I'm just.
No, it's
like,
like, yeah, no.
I can get how you could read both sides. Of it.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because it's like, how as people, how do we really support each other if we're never really gonna?
Do you know what it is?
Understand it really.
The best sign of being listened to, right, is not saying a word, not trying to jump in when people are speaking, not looking around on their phone. It's just to sit there and watch them speak and take it in. And if I went on a rant for 15 minutes, right, and someone, male or female, just went, I listened to every word of that, mate. Like, I really did. Let me think about what you said, and then we'll have a chat, and I want to take it all in.
Sometimes it's not even solving it, just wanted to get it off.
Just done. But then I find that when I do sort of tend to open up or whatever, or start speaking, it's like 10 seconds in, I'm being interrupted. It's like you're not listening. You're literally not listening to what I'm saying. So therefore, that's why I don't talk about it, because every time I do, And I speak quite quickly sometimes to people because it's just years of just being interrupted. So I just go, I have to quickly get it out there before someone, ooh, you know, oh, what about this, what about that? It's like, well, okay, momentum gone, whatever, see you later, gone. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes when someone's just sat there and just literally watching and listening, and if you're trying to think of a reply while they're talking, you're not listening.
You know,
Switching
I
up.
learned something. Actually, learned one thing at Boots working there. We done a about customer service, and what we had to do was every customer that come in, we had to repeat what they said so we understood and took it all in. So, for instance, if they said, "I'm really finding it hard to find a new mascara," we would have to go, "I hear that you're finding it really hard to find a mascara. Would you like to go to this section? These have really good ones." So then we're actually listening to the problem to then be able to, not to fix everyone's problems, but to actually take it in on every senses, rather than it just being, not saying that when we're talking we should repeat, but sometimes when my partner talks, I'll think, right, I need to repeat in my head what he's just said so I actually feel it. Otherwise we don't then feel it. We're just opening our ears and just taking it in and going out on it.
It takes the same amount of courage to sit down and listen than it does to stand up and speak. And people constantly want to speak, but they never have time to sit down and listen. It's like you sit and watch a film for an hour and a half in dead silence. You can't listen to me for 5 minutes. Don't believe it. That's how I look at life. You can't sit down. I mean, you watch memes and videos for an hour and a half in bed, dead silent, but you can't listen to me for 5 minutes without interrupting.